So even though I didn't get that far, I needed to take a break. It's a little late right now. It was a little after 9 when I left. I had to go to the store because I wanted to get some snacks because I had been dying for some snacks. So I picked up a bag of chips and I saw this, which is the 4-pack of Underworld movies. Now I have actually seen Underworld and Underworld Rise of the Lycans, but I haven't seen any of the other proper Underworld sequels. So I said, screw it, I'll pick it up. It's $5. And then I have like extra copies of my 2 favorite movies from the franchise, so I picked that up. Well, what was funny is I go up to the counter and I put the bag of chips on the counter, guy checks them out. I put this up on the counter, he scans it, and then he pauses and he looks and he goes, "Can I see your ID?" Sure. Give him my ID and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, it's just it was asking for your ID because this is a rated R movie." And I kind of went, "You mean there's violence in these vampire movies? I am shocked, sir." Kind of being one of those kind of customers, but he laughed, and he was like, "Yeah, I know, it's really weird. I didn't know it was gonna do that." And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of weird because the only people who ever care about my ID are the people at the convenience store or the package store. Those are the only 2 people that ever ask me for my ID. Whereas I go to Walmart or Target, no one gives a fuck. I walked up with Ash vs. Evil Dead. No one checked my ID. Nobody cared. They're just like, yeah, you know what? You probably drove yourself. You're fine. I just thought that was hilarious. I've not been asked my ID to pick up a movie or a game in like 6-7 years. So. Okay, I'm not that far, but I felt like I wanted to make this observation about Bella's character from what I'm seeing. She actually is with Edward now, they've met, and when he first meets her, he's like glaring at her, he doesn't like her, there's something, and she's very self-conscious about it. She's like, what am I doing? Because he doesn't say anything to her, and then he just goes away for like a week, and then he shows back up, and she's just like, okay, hi, and now he's acting really nice to her. And they get into a conversation. I got fucking chip dust all over me. Well, they start getting into this conversation, and he asks her, well, why did you come here? You didn't want to be here, so why did you come? And Bella actually gives a really interesting answer. Her mother got remarried to this guy in the minor league baseball, I guess. And he moves around a lot to different places, and the mom missed him a lot. And even though she was staying with Bella back at their home, waiting for him to get back, Bella decided, you know what, Mom, you go and you travel with your hubby. I'm gonna go and live with my dad. I'll have a stable place to live, and you can enjoy your new marriage. It's not even super permanent. The mom offered her at any time she wants to come home, she can come home, no problem, whatever. So, I actually think that's really interesting. As somebody who is a child of divorce, just like many other people, sometimes if I'm I'm trying to think of how I want to say this, but like, I'm trying to put myself in that mindset, like teenage self, right? Because she is a teenager, so she doesn't think super rationally and logically like an adult would. Teenagers just don't. They're emotional and so forth. Well, with Bella, I'm kind of like, okay, so she moves to a town she doesn't like, with all the rain and the cold, to spend time with her father because she wants to, I guess, spend time with him, but also give the mother that she loves a chance to enjoy her new marriage, you know, without feeling guilty about leaving Bella home all the time by herself. So I actually think that's really interesting that Bella chose to do that. You don't hear that a lot when you watch, like, reviews about that, but I actually am like, wow, that's actually pretty selfless of her. And she also never makes mention of this to anyone. She pretends to everyone that she's happy, that she's getting adjusted, that she's okay with being in this new place, but she keeps all her internal stuff internal. She doesn't try to bog anybody down. She tries to be honest here and there in small little spurts, like she doesn't like the rain, so she's made comments about that. She's made comments about not liking snow, and so forth. But for the most part, she keeps that hidden. She doesn't show that she's uncomfortable, and she's comfortable with being quiet, retrospective. And also another thing that I didn't realize is that she's actually pretty smart. When you make a character super smart, I guess, like, it toes the line between, like, believable and not. I actually find her somewhat believable, with her intellect. She did a lot of, like, AP level classes in her old school, so she comes to this other school, and she was, advanced placement, and now she's coming here, and she's being put into a lot of the standard placement classes, and she's just like, I can do this pretty easily, but she still does her work. She doesn't shirk her homework, she doesn't shirk her responsibility, she still does the work, even if she doesn't necessarily find it super stimulating. Which, in some of my classes when I was younger, not to toot my own horn, but yeah, in some of my classes, mainly like writing, literature, and artistic type classes like that, I get that. Like, I get being, like, ahead in those regards, in those classes. She's actually more ahead in, like, a variety of things. But she still has some faults, I will give them that, is that she does have some faults. Like, she's very self-conscious about herself, what teenager isn't. She talks about, like, she's clumsy, she's not athletic, like, she's skinny, but she's not strong. I actually was like, oh, that's a nice touch. So she's thin, but she's not strong. She has no definition whatsoever, and she's very uncoordinated. Okay. She's kind of pessimistic, but not pessimistic. I don't know, I'm finding myself kind of engaging with a little bit with her. There's also something I've seen complained about before, that when I'm reading it in context, I'm like, it's actually not that bad. When she first moves to this town, there's only about, like, 300 students in this school that she goes to. And they all live in the same area. They've all been going to school since they were children together. They all know each other. Everybody knows everybody. That's how tight-knit this town is. And when Bella gets there, she's got these two boys, specifically two boys, Mike and Eric, that are just like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, what's your name? Oh, my goodness, you must be Bella. And, we heard that you were coming, because gossip gets around in a small town and everything else. And they just, like, cling to her, like, and they get really attracted to her almost instantly. And I've heard complaints about, like, oh, she's just this Mary Sue. She's good-looking, and she's pale, and she's this very smart person, and she's got... Well, in context, I'm thinking about it going, well, the reason these two boys instantly gravitated towards her is because all of the other girls they've grown up with, so they either see as friends or just unavailable, because the girls might just see them as friends and not be interested. So they're growing up around in the same small town, they know the same people, etc. Maybe they've already tried with some of the girls there, and now they've got this new girl that doesn't know them, that they can make a good impression on, and maybe get a girlfriend. That's the way I read it. I'm like, okay, it's two guys instantly that were attracted to her, and they want to, date her. They're not subtle about it either. But I kind of get it in context. It's not just that, oh, Bella's super pretty and gorgeous and everybody wants her. I actually kind of go, nah. I actually get it in context, like, she's new in a small town. People know each other. So naturally, some of the more outgoing students, like, she's got, like, this friend Jessica, is going to want to talk to her because she's more outgoing. And so she's like, oh, this new girl, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I've done that when my friend Cher was new at my school when I was in middle school. That's how we became friends, is me just going and sitting next to her at lunch. So I get it. Like, in context, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. I actually feel that Bella's a little bit more fleshed out than I thought she was going to be. Again, I'm only still at the beginning, because I keep taking little breaks and asides, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So far, I actually feel that while she's pessimistic, when I read it in context, it actually makes somewhat sense. She didn't want to move in the first place. She moved because she thought she was doing something good for her mother, because she loves her mother. It's a little skewed logic, but she's also a teenager, so skewed logic regardless.